Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Liz Schaller. I am the NIMAC director. I am joined today by Rosemary Horton Baggott, who is our expert Braille 2000 transcriber. And today we are going to talk all about editing and formatting in Braille 2000, really kind of dive into the bulk of your textbook transcription project. We have next week on July 7th will be kind of like the second part of our editing and formatting series where we'll look at headings and tables and speed braille keys. Then in session 5, we're going to be talking about all about math and alphabetic references. And then session 6 will be a wrap-up Q&A for the series. And then we'll also spend some time talking about the eBraille file format and kind of the timeline for producing eBraille. All right, so today we're going to focus on editing and formatting of Typeforms, your table of contents, and your lists in Braille 2000. So first, we're going to go through some slides that cover that content. Then we're going to switch gears to a demo, and Rosemary is going to show you how to do all of the things that we talk about in the slides. We have 3 learning objectives for you today. The first is to understand how to use search and replace in Braille 2000 to edit type forms that come through in NIMAS files. The second is to learn how to use Braille 2000 to edit lists from NIMAS files. And then the third is to learn how to edit your file to create a table of contents in Braille 2000. Now, before we get started, we'd love to know a little bit more about who we have here in the room with us today. So I am going to go ahead and launch that first poll. Let us know which of these best describes you. Are you a NIMAC authorized user or state coordinator, a NIMAC AMP, a Braille transcriber not registered with the NIMAC, a TVI or paraprofessional or other? Please let us know. All right. Looks like about half of our folks are registered NIMAC users, and then the other half are not. So we're so glad to have you with us today. And then second poll, before Rosemary jumps in here on type forms, we have a question for you. Have you used Braille 2000 to remove emphasis? Yes, all the time. No, I haven't, or unsure. Let us know in the poll. Have you used Braille 2000 to remove emphasis? All right, I'll go ahead and end the poll, share the results. So a little over half of the folks say yes all the time. And then about a third to half are either they haven't or they're not sure if they have before. So this may be new information for some folks, Rosemary.
Okay, good.
Yeah, well, thank you all so much. Take it away.
Okay, thanks, Liz. All right. So, adjusting type forms. Type forms in the NIMAS file reflect print design, and which is why they are usually you need to edit them to align with the format's requirements. As you know, when you look at the print books, a lot of headings are bold type, things like that. So we need to make this reader friendly for Braille readers. So formats is our resource. Types of emphasis can include bold, italics, underlining, script, sometimes colors. We already looked on day 1 at Braille Blaster conversion. When you import a NIMAS file through Braille Blaster, you have the option to remove all emphasis from headings, list prefixes, and alphabetic reference entry words. In Braille 2000, there are a couple different ways to do it. I'm going to just show 3. There is an adjust emphasis tool that will show in the next slide a picture of, and I'll demonstrate briefly, can also do in-file editing options, which is what I pretty much do. Single entry manual edit, if you're just going along and you see a bold type that doesn't belong there, it's easiest for me to just take it out right there. Search and replace if there's something that I see is repeated a lot in the text. And then when I do that, I either do a partial or a global file edit. So this is the adjust emphasis tool. Open this menu with adjust, Alt A, and then emphasis for E. This is what pulls up. What I have here is opened it twice and overlapped in the slide just to show the options. You can do an everything becomes plain, italics, bold, or underline. You can do a plain becomes, italics, bold, or underline. And you have the option of either selecting in the current paragraph or the highlighted text. I have used this tool in the past, but I don't really anymore because global changes scare me and they're hard to undo. So it's there. I used to use it, and then sometimes things would get changed I didn't want, whatever. So I'll show you what I do in the demo. The in-file editing I mentioned, individual entries do manually. You can select or highlight portions of the text and then do a search, find, and replace. That's probably the one I use most frequently. The command for the search, it's search, Alt S, find, and then you directly enter what you're looking for and then what you want to replace it with. The most important thing I will say right here, it's in bold type, it's in all caps here, is check for highlighted area or whole file. This is what I mean. So this is the tool. Here's the search and find. Here's the search box. This is what or the find box. This is what I'm looking for. In this case, it's Dear Family and it's in bold type because that's the way it looked in print. And I put that in I'll usually like do a quick highlight, copy, paste into this box. And then I'll paste into the replace box and remove the bold or just type in there depending. I can replace from the top or from the cursor. Usually replace all, and that I use Alt L. But this is the kicker. In this box, you can search in the highlighted area or the whole file. Always, always, always check this because even if you've done your last search and replaced in a highlighted area, Braille 2000 for some reason really likes the whole file default. And that's, once you do that, it's kind of too late unless it was something funky that you entered, and then you can go back and search for the funky and change that. But I always check that box. So hopefully that'll save some people some time. That's it for the slides on this. If there are any questions or comments.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about editing type forms? I don't see any in the chat, but you are more than welcome to unmute and ask your question out loud as well. Also curious if people want to share in the chat since, Rosemary said there are many different ways to accomplish this in Braille 2000 and some of you do it all the time. Very curious to hear what your preference is. Rosemary does not like to use the tool, but maybe some of you do. So let us know what your preference is. Be curious to know.
I will add this while people are going in the text. I tried out the tool again recently to see how does this work? Why haven't I used this in a while? And there were some times where I would be removing, it was like a global replace, and there were numeric indicators that were numbers that were bold typed. And I was just telling it to make them plain instead of bold, and it was taking out the numeric indicators. So it's another reason why I don't use the tool.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I will show you what I do, but the search and replace, it's an excellent way to do it, and I have more control over it.
Okay. Jerry put something in the chat here. Let's see. It says, Rosemary, we've been experiencing translation errors in Braille 2000. Here are two samples that we would like um, to see if you have the same problem. And there were He's just curious if you can copy and paste them into Braille 2000, maybe during the demo part, and just see if you're getting the same, if you're having experiencing the same issue that they are with Braille 2000. One looks like it's bold, and then one is italics, and they're all caps. So maybe something to do with the all caps. I'm not sure. And then it looks like he included a screenshot of the text as well. So maybe during the demo we can revisit that and we can take a look and see if you're having the same, experiencing the same thing they are.
Yeah, if you can make that quickly findable for me when we get there, sure.
All right. Okay. Well, before we jump into table of contents, curious, got another poll question for you, just to find out how many of you have already edited table of contents in Braille 2000 before. Yes, no, I edit in a different program, or no, I've never transcribed a table of contents. Let us know.
Translation errors.
Okay. All right. So again, it looks like about half of our folks say yes, and then there are a few folks who say no, I edit in a different program, and then a few more who have never transcribed a table of contents before. So that's great to know. Thanks for sharing.
Okay.
All right. And yeah, I'll save this example for you, Rosemary, so we can look at it during the demo if you want to keep
Yeah.
going.
Okay. All right. So again, just a few pointers from formats and the table of contents. Pagination, the table of contents typically begins on Braille page 1 unless there's matter from the back of the book, P1 rather, unless there's matter from the back cover or whatever. We demonstrated that on day 1. That would go before the table of contents. But you set up the entire table of contents in the first volume only. After that, subsequent volumes will just have the TOC, I'll refer to for that, the portion that's in that volume. Headings, the NIMAS import come in with headings, and I find them for the most part to be very close to print and or what I would want to do with formats. I'll show you one little difference today. But in the table of contents, the center print heading, whatever it says in the print table of contents or nothing, we follow print for that. And then volume 1 and transcriber's note indicator goes below that with no blank line in between. And other volumes will be after the first volume. Again, I'll show an example of that in the demo. Identifiers typically in cell 1, following a blank line, and it comes in a nested list format, which we'll talk about later today too. So no entries on lines 1 or 25 because of the Braille page numbers. I mean, yeah, because of page numbers. And I used to set up tables of contents manually until I started using Braille 2000, and I love this tool. It makes it so much easier. So just quickly, page numbers refer to Braille 2000 will add the guide dots between the entry and the page number at the end of the line. It retains the 6-cell distance between the text and the margin. These are all things required by formats. It is still important to check and proofread. Sidebars and other displayed material in the table of contents. You can find detailed examples and explanations in formats 2.10.2i. You do have to retain the 6-cell right margin. So again, I'll show an example of that. But overall, this tool has saved me hours. Whoops, I didn't mean to go that quickly. Retain capitalization and font attributes. Yeah. Okay. Pre-editing saves time. This is one thing I'll demonstrate some of my pre-editing in this table today, unless one is already perfectly set up, but there's usually some things that come in not quite what we need. So the table of contents tool, once you've highlighted the material you want to format, is do or Alt D, line number L, and then you select with guide dots, and then you select auto contents and select options within there, which will demonstrate. And then you check your Braille copy carefully to make sure it's what you want it to be. Because of the vast differences in textbook design, including type forms, especially in the table of contents, the NIMAS translated files just have to be proofread and edited carefully. And no, can we go to the next slide? There we go. So there's also, I'll do a demo today. There's also a video that Jonathan Powers did with his Braille Tips YouTube channel. He demonstrates how to do the contents, the part I'm going to show. He also will show how to remove the 6-cell indent where needed and how to format your table of contents in Word. That's something you're interested in. And then you use your table of contents to divide volumes. Someone mentioned this on the first day in the chat. Your volume division, you want to be between, when you finish your Braille volume, you want it preferably to end at the end of a logical section, whether it's a chapter or a unit or whatever. And so you can use your table of contents to help decide where to end volumes. And then on the title page, you'll use continuation numbers where relevant. So if sometimes a print text in more upper grade textbooks will start a new section in the middle of a print page, in which case you're going to be finishing a section. Let's say it's section 5 in a chapter, and you don't have room to go on. You'll start up your next one with section 6 or whatever. If it stops in the middle of a page on your print, on the title page of the new volume, you're going to put the actual Braille page number and print page number it starts with. If it's page B50 instead of just 50, you put that on the title page. And also your last page in a volume, if you end on A50, that's going to go on your title page as the final page number. So I have there's a couple different ways to set up subsequent volumes. I'm sure there's probably as many different ways to do it as there are transcribers on here. I say I've done different things over the years and come with what works quickly for me. So I'll demonstrate that at some point. I either copy and paste. I tend to save my file as the new volume name. If I've finished volume 1 and I know that's where I want to end, then I will make sure I've saved that. Then I will save as volume 2 and open that volume 2 and edit the table of contents, edit the title page, table of contents, remove the information that belonged to volume 1. And that way I retain my preliminary pages. And then I have to go back to the volume I just finished. I said save as volume 2 and I was in 1. So 1 still has the whole rest of the book in it. I go to the end of that and then delete. That's just a quick overview what I do, and I can demonstrate that at some point. So that's pretty much what I have on table of contents for the demo.
Does anyone have any questions? Alexa did put that link in the chat to the that video that Rosemary described that's available to you as well, if you want to see a little more detail. And again, this will be covered in the demo portion as well. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, great. Yeah,
Yeah,
Paulo.
I have a question.
Hi.
Hi, Rosemary. Hi, Liz. So, Rosemary, do you ever use an RTF file to do the table of contents? Like, Bob has this video on his website, right? And he shows how to create the table of contents. That's the way I do it. That's the way I've been doing it. But
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you ever tried that, or any differences between the way you do it on Braille 2000 rather than doing it as an RTF. I mean, yeah,
I
rich
listen,
test
I know there are
form.
people that do. Thank you, Paulo.
Yeah.
I don't, because I've been transcribing Braille before RTFs were around, I think.
Mm.
So by the time, that came out, I mean, again, that's the tool. That's why I operate best in Braille view. I've been doing it since the 70s, and so it's just like it would be another step and just take me more time to do that. Now, people that are into that, that's why I said there's so many different ways of doing it. And yeah, that's interesting to hear that question. I'm just
Yeah.
laughing at myself. Oh, what's an RT? I know what an RTF, but
Right.
now it's faster for me to do it in Braille.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
every people can do that.
I see. It's like I guess a matter of preference, I guess, right? Because you get the same results. It's maybe just one step more, I guess, doing it as an RTF, and but you get to see it in the text, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought I'd ask about that. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Hmm.
You use speed Braille keys in Braille 2000 to help format your lists. Yes, all the time. No, I've never tried. Or I use speed Braille keys for other things, but not for lists. Let us know. Okay, let's see. All right, so about half of folks say yes, they use them all the time, and then the others either have never tried or they don't currently use speed Braille keys for formatting lists. Good to know. Thank you. All right, Rosemary, you want to take it away?
Thank you. And I'll be referring to speed Braille keys today. I'm using them, and I think the setup is for them is next week. We're showing how to set up. I love speed Braille keys. So lists. A list can be a series of words, phrases, or sentences, maybe preceded by a heading. Table of contents is an example of a list. So some of the types of lists that we'll look at, they're again, formats is very detailed. Simple, nested list, bulleted, outlines, annotations, all in formats section 8. The NIMAS translation converts lists as in print the most part. Some will need transcriber to edit. Yeah, the as in print. Sometimes a list in print will show up in columns. We have to look at formats to see what we're supposed to do with that, how to the list there are specific guidelines for the lists, which sure a lot of you know, and we'll go through some of those today. There always need for transcriber to edit. List prefixes may be in bold type based on the print appearance, and they're probably not supposed to be in bold type in Braille, depending on where they are. Bullets are not always converted in the NIMAS file and may need to be added in Braille. Also, in some imports, I think it might be both a Braille 2000 and a Braille Blaster thing. Sometimes the numeric and or alphabetic identifiers are not always there. And I think we've talked about this, got to do with a tagging thing in the NIMAS file. So we just have to look for those things and edit if necessary.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Rosemary. That is a tagging thing in NIMAS files where Braille software is actually not designed to process all list types that are possible in NIMAS files correctly. So there's actually a specific list type that's supposed to be used for alphabetic or numeric lists, but Braille software doesn't recognize it. So it just, when you pull the file into your software, those things will just disappear for you, unfortunately. So in the last few years, we've actually been directing our NIMAS conversion vendors not to use that list type at all, and instead to manually enter the numbers or letters. So you may see them come over, but Rosemary's right, especially if you're working with an older NIMAS file, they probably won't, and you will have to add them.
Yeah, and I actually looked for, thank you, Liz. I actually looked for an example to show of that. And in the book that I'm primarily using this time, I'm like, oh, they're there. So This is a more recent, and it's a MathML3. It came in accurately. If we'll see if I find one of those for tomorrow
Oh,
before next
good.
week. Okay. Oh, so the demo overview, we're going to explore Braille 2000 features for editing and formatting the type forms, the lists, and the table of contents. I think I said list before table of contents, since the table of contents is a list, but we'll see.
Yeah, great.
No, I'm doing table of contents first. Anyway, um, no.
All right.
Was there something?
No, so we'll just take questions while you're switching over
Okay.
to get ready for the demo. And I did email you the things that Jerry had put in the chat. I wasn't sure if that was the easiest. I just copied and pasted the text and then also included the image that he sent of the Braille translation that he is seeing just to see if you have the same thing. So,
Okay, in the
um,
chat. Now, I
yeah, I just emailed it to you. So,
email it to me. Yeah, because I can't the type it's so small on there. I'll take a look at my email. Thanks.
oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. Does anyone have any questions about lists? I will say, I think lists are a great example of one of the things that, on the NIMAC side, when we review NIMAS files and certify NIMAS files, we are not comparing that NIMAS file to the print copy the way that you are as a transcriber when you're producing Braille. That would just not be a feasible workflow. We would not have time to go through whole files and compare them. So, while we can check to see if a file is technically tagged correctly according to the NIMA specification and what we would expect to see in a textbook, we don't know how that corresponds to the actual layout of the print book. So things like Rosemary's describing, where sometimes maybe bullets aren't present, that's not something we would be aware of as we're reviewing and certifying files. So that's why sometimes you can see those differences between what you're looking at in the print book and what you're finding in the NIMAS file, because we are not doing that side by side comparison as we're certifying files.
Liz, I'm so glad you told us that. That, yeah, that helps a lot actually. I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't realize because I've seen some of these files and I wondered about, you know, why certain formatting is different. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for that. That helps a lot.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. And there may be small things like that, obviously, that you'll come across as a transcriber. Again, also because NIMAS files are designed to be converted into multiple formats. So sometimes the ideal tagging for large print or EPUB production's not the same as ideal tagging for Braille. So it is a format that has to be used across a lot of different software tools to produce a lot of end formats. But I will say, if you ever encounter any issues in a NIMAS file where there's actual content missing, please report that to us. There's a button actually in your NIMAC account if you are a NIMAC user, or you could let, whatever agency provided you with a NIMAS file know to report it to us so that we can actually look into that. Because if there's something where actual content is missing, we would want to go back to the publisher and make sure that that file's fixed for anyone else who might need to use it. All right, Rosemary, are you ready to go?
Uh, yes. I'm doing with adjusting type forms. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, we can go. I'll take a quick start with that sentence that came in from Jerry. I have no idea what that are you able to share what I'm trying to paste? I copied it. I don't know if it's going to work copying it from the email.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. I attached the image he sent, which was the Braille translation,
Right,
to that
right.
email, so you can see how it was translating.
So I'm now why is it doing this? Oh, Braille 2000's beeping at me. Not
Oh no.
funny. I'm sorry. This earlier today and it was working fine. All right. This is because I'm sharing it on another screen, and the only thing I know to do is to get out of it, but this is pretty quick. I'm missing a Braille 2000. Sorry about that. I will say to Jerry, I have no, what is he using? Can you share what you're using to convert that file? That's a question for Jerry. What did he use to
Oh, what was the source file you
yeah,
mean?
yeah. And what program
Oh,
was,
copy and paste from Word is what Jerry
oh,
said.
okay. I mean, wait, let me find my files here first. I had all the pages pulled up. Day 3 Braille files. Uh,
It doesn't matter if you copy and paste it or if you insert it.
if it's coming from Word, my guess is the word, because all I'm seeing is that it thinks the apostrophe is some kind of different font, but I don't understand why it's got the font indicator before and after the letter.
So I will tell you that I even removed the apostrophe to try to see whether or not it would do the same thing with the reverse order at the end, and it's still messing up the reverse order as well.
And this is still something that came in from Word.
Correct.
Because again, I've never done that, and I'm sorry, but I used the Braille bring it in from the NIMAS file in Braille 2000.
I can
And
also tell you that I double checked these errors through Duxbury and Braille Blaster. Duxbury and Braille Blaster both got the translations correct.
that would be a question for customer support and Braille Blaster.
Robert?
No, yeah, he would be the one
Yeah.
to, because I'm sure he knows how to do the whether it's Word or whatever. But yeah, sorry that I
Well,
was
I'm really curious to see whether or not you or other individuals are receiving these errors because he's not addressing it. And that's a problem.
the clipboard handle is Braille. No, it wasn't Braille, it was print. Sorry. Handle as print. Now I copied that sentence from the print and okay, print view. I didn't do that yet.
Yeah, I'll just chime in here a little bit if I might.
You, Jonathan.
Microsoft Word has very, very powerful search and replace. So I always just search and replace any problem characters with ones that will work when I copy it into Braille 2000.
There's your expert because he does this. I was forgetting he might be on here. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if you can see on my screen, I did copy the sentence that you sent in, Jerry, and that Liz sent me in an email. I copied that and I pasted it into Braille 2000. Now, the first time when I go to paste, I'm just doing the Control V and it asks me, it says the clipboard contains text that could be either print text or Braille cells. And the first time I made a mistake, I said handle as Braille because I'm thinking this is Braille I want. But what I had copied was the print that she sent over that you had sent, wow, he's one terrific artist. So when I handled it as Braille, it came in like this, the top one. When I handled it as print, which it was, so I just did again, did paste, that's what I get. So it's not, I think you were asking, well, anyway, I don't know about the funky translation. That's much as I, as I know, but I think Bob or Jonathan be your
I
expert.
appreciate you looking at it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thanks for sending that in, Jerry. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to take the type forms in the context of the table of contents, I think is how I did this. So we have this partially formatted file that we did the preliminary pages on the other day. And I'm up to the table of contents here. I can put it in print view. And notice this, well, the print is over here to the right, sort of trying to get that in there. This is my table of contents. Can make that a little bit bigger. And in Braille, I see that the heading is bold type, so I'm just going to manually put my cursor there and delete that. And there's my centered heading. Now I have a centered heading here because this is what they show on the table of contents. Has the title at the top. Doesn't say contents or table of contents, but I follow print there. So below that, I'm going to take out the I'm just putting delete or backspace depending on where my cursor is. Now I have that centered because I've used a speed Braille key. So here's another one. The unit 1, if I notice in this whole section, I can go through and see that unit and the number are all in bold type. I'll show you the global edit thing. Let's just take out the bold here. And I'm going to use the not do, adjust. So it's adjust up here. Emphasis. That would be, and I get that little pop-up box I showed you earlier. Everything becomes whatever. So I have some bold type things in there that I want them to become plain. Take a look at them before I do this. It does say bold unit, and then bold numeric, bold number. I'm going to apply to the highlighted text. And this is why I don't use this tool. One reason anyway. You'll see it changed it to, took away the bold emphasis from the unit. It took away the bold emphasis and the numeric indicator from the one. So I'm going to put that back in there manually. And I just did that for the first 2 units. Come down here and show the way I like to do it. I'm going to highlight, for example, the rest of the table of contents, and all I'm focusing on right now is the unit and the number. I'm doing a global. Let's get rid of the bold type on those, not global. That means kind of everything, on just the unit and the number. So I'm going to do search, find, and in that box, I'm going to direct enter a bold and unit. I'm going to do the bold symbol indicator and the numeric indicator, and that's all I want to change. Then I go to replace, which is Alt R, or click on replace, and I'm going to put in unit number. So I'm going to replace with this with no emphasis, and I'm going to check down here, and this is highlighted. Yay! The drop-down menu will give me the option of some other things, including whole file. I don't know what the suspect word is. It always makes me laugh. Somebody does. So highlighted, yes. It's irrelevant whether I'm going from the top or the cursor. I'm doing the highlighted area. Replace all, L. And if you look back at the contents, it has removed the bold type. Get rid of the blue background, the shading rather. So that's pretty much my changing emphasis. There might be other options in here, but I'm going to go ahead with editing the table of contents. The print shows, well, it's not really a nested list because according to formats, we want major headings to be centered. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back into Braille mode so I don't make ridiculous mistakes. And down here. First thing we do is we put at the top of the first volume in the top of the contents page in the first volume in transcriber's notes, volume 1. I'm going to use my speed Braille key to center that. And then I'm going to center the unit heading. And I can just go down and do that manually for each one. Why? Now I'm losing my margin. So I want to put these at the margin, and I'm going to come down and highlight that section and use my speed Braille key to tell them to go to the margin. That's my one run overs in. I could do this different ways. I could do this with the whole thing first and then go back and edit the units. But let me just do the other thing is I want a blank line above each unit heading. Into formats for each section. Now, if you're looking at these while I'm doing this, you'll notice at the end of each line is all this red type, something's wrong. And what they've done, this is something to do with tagging because I see it come in frequently. Looking at it in print as well. At the end of each line, you'll notice that the print page number is unspaced from the entry. It's not that way in print. So it's got something to do with these lines and the tagging coming in because I'll notice this frequently. So I have a pretty easy fix for that. What I do in Braille mode is I'm going to, this is my pre-edit. I'm going to highlight and I'm going to put a space in before that numeric indicator. The nice thing is I don't have any numbers at the left column. There are some, you look at the print, some of the lesson titles like adding tens on page 7 and then more adding tens on page 9. You'll see, looking at those lines, the numeric indicators are there. So that's good. It's going to put an extra space in front of any numbers, but there are not a lot of numbers in the print already. I've already looked. So yeah, just going to highlight the whole thing. And I'm going to do search. I'm going to search for a number. I'm going to put the number numeric indicator here, and I'm going to replace with space numeric indicator. And I'm going to check to make sure it's just the highlighted file. Imagine doing that through a whole book. It is going to all, and there are now space numbers before the page numbers. Or there are now spaces before the page numbers. There are also spaces before the unit numbers, but there's only 8 of those, so I can go and fix those manually. It's less. And a few lessons like adding tens, I'm just going to scroll up there and delete that extra space. So this is the pre-editing I do. I notice also this line, skip counting and more 23. When the M was joined to the 23, that, you know, this anyway, it's just supposed to be capital M. You know what I'm talking about. For contracted word more. Everything is pretty good. Take out these spaces, just going down manually, using my arrow and arrows. So, and here's the other unit. Real quickly, I'm going to format these. I'll do the rest of it the other way. I'm going to make everything here go to the margin and then fix the units afterwards. Speed Braille key, everything's at the margin. I go back up to where I was, unit 5, divide by 4, and now here's another thing that happened. In unit 5, if you look at the print over here, the title of the lesson was multiply and divide by 4 and 8, and then it was on page 79. So if you have to do that global, or highlight and add a space in front of the page number, you risk, this may happen. Here the 8 and the 79 got joined. So there I need to look carefully at print. Back over here. And where is it? Here's the line. We'll show it in print view. You see that it's now page 885, which does not exist. So I'll go back. Again, I edit fastest in Braille. I'm going to take out those spaces, and when I get here, I'm going to have to insert a space after the 8 that belongs to the lesson and insert a numeric indicator in front of the page number. There are a few other places that happens in here. Unit 5, what happened there? Oh, Unit 5 review. That just goes to the margin. Put it back. Put it back. And I'm almost finished. What is all these ones? So the lesson was sandbox and garden problems. I check my print. It's in Unit 6. Sandbox and garden problems should be page 111. And I don't know if the NIMAS file just got excited about ones, but I'm going to go to this 111,111 and delete those last 3 ones. And here's my Unit 7. And it happened again here. Lesson number multiplying by 11 and 12. I put a space after the 12, insert my numeric indicator for the page number. Okay, so it's now pretty much, now I would go over this a little more carefully than I'm doing right now, just to demonstrate and make sure that all of those page numbers are corresponding to print. But for right now, what I do for the table of content formatting, I'm going to do it one section at a time. Here first. So the command is do line number. That opens this box. I'm going to select auto content, so I can just hit C there. And the word selected as follows, because we're talking about the word selected, they're talking about where to put the page number, is taken from regular text and turned into a page number. So I'm going to take the paragraph's last word. Since each of these is set up pretty much as a paragraph, the last word happens to be the page number. Then I can select here, all I have in this book are numbers 1 through 9, 1 and 0. If you have Roman numerals because you have preliminary pages, you can leave that checked and it will select those. If you have end matter that starts with, say, R23 for resource section, or you can leave that selected. I'm going to unselect those and just accept these numbers and hit OK. And you can see what's happened is Braille 2000 has inserted the .5. It kept the 6 cell end of the 6 cells before the margin. And it caught one of my mistakes that I didn't catch. So here's, I had adding tens as a lesson, more adding tens, and making tens, and the 10 got joined to the 11 over here. So to undo that, I hover over this annotation. So you can see the little triangle there. It says line number. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to remove it. So it should say making tens. And the page number was, I'm checking against print, making 10, 11, not making tens, making 10, making 11. Now I can highlight that line and repeat this. Do line. I have to check this, and I'm never quite sure. I think it's looking at the line above and it likes the 9, but the page number I want at the end of the line is, check against print again, 11. So manual, enter that, and I just say OK. And it didn't work because, oops. Yes, when I'm just fixing one line, I still have to use this auto contents thingy here. Okay, it put in the dots across. So that's an example. Now, I did not do it here on this line because I don't want unit 2. I don't want 2 on the right. It's going to put that over at the right. I'm going to come to the next section, do line number, auto content C. I can really just tell it to go. I don't think there are any of these in there that are going to confuse the issue. So there's I love this tool. When I think of the years that I used to do these manually. See. So there you go. Now, if I were to, the other way I might have done this is, let's say I don't want to have to do each. It's really easier, I think, but another way would be to just, okay, highlight the whole thing and know that it's going to mess up the unit numbers. And I can go back and fix those. So D, Alt D for do, line, auto contents, and okay. So it inserted all of the, it fixed all. Now I have to go back and fix the unit numbers. See that? So from unit 3, I did one section at a time. Here I would just go back and right click on the annotation triangle, remove, and I had the annotation for the wrong one. All right. The reason why I don't do it this way. And then I have to insert the 4. And then I have to go back and fix the mess I made with animal weights. It's supposed to be page 57. I like that. There we go. So, if there are any questions, I'll just go through and fix these. They don't bother me or anybody, but if anybody has any questions, this is pretty much.
I have a question, Rosemary. Yeah, so some of do you ever use some of the search find and replace in the formatting for spaces, for example? Because I've tried that and it doesn't really work. And I'm wondering if anybody else has tried different, like using find and replace to fix double spacing, for example. And it doesn't seem to work.
Tried that at one point in the past. If it doesn't work, I just don't do it. For double spacing, yeah, I would. Sometimes I've done something where I would, if I have, well, let me see. Let's say I had, let me try this here. You have to put something in there. I don't think it's going to search for just a space, but let's say, for example, this one, multiply by 11 and 12. If there were 2 spaces between that. Now, if this gets messed up, I'm going to put it on Paula. No, I'm going to try it and see. I'm going to see if I can do. So I'm highlighting that line. Let's just highlight this section because I'm searching here. I'll do a search. I'm entering space, numeric indicator. I am not going to try to, well, yeah, I would. I'll try to replace with space numeric indicator. Let's see what happens. It worked.
Yeah, so I guess you have to have a character.
Yeah.
You have to have something there. That's
I mean, I would imagine it would spaz out if you say find all the spaces. Like, where do I start? So, yeah, but that was a good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Notice here that now Braille 2000 inserts when you do the table of contents, it leaves the last line blank, line 25, and the first line if it didn't have a running head. Again, this is something to check because every once in a while, and I think it's got to do with where his line return indicators are. Is it called line return? I'm thinking of the old typewriters. The line break. Date myself. But here, I need to have a blank line above unit, so I just put my cursor there and hit enter. take that out, and I'm still fixing these. Remove the, this is what I did before. I don't want to remove the indent thing. This tells me what it's going to remove. So I'm going to X out of that. I'm looking for the annotation for the line number. There it is. Well, maybe that is what it's called. Okay. And so my preference is to just highlight them one at a time because it goes faster, as you can see from that.
Yeah, that
But
makes sense. We do have a few things in the chat. One person asked, can you just highlight the number and press F4? Is that something that you...
I don't know what F4 is. Maybe somebody can tell me. Is that it's probably a standard. Is that a speed braille case?
You're
Someone's
welcome to unmute and ask. Yeah, what the F4... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question if they set it up as a speed braille key or...
if it's a speed braille
It's at
case.
the top of your keyboard. You have an F row of keys.
Yeah, I know
F4
where it
through
is. Yeah.
F12. If you highlight the number and press F4, it automatically does what you're doing one at a time by bringing up that dialog box.
By bringing up the dialog. Oh.
So type a number at the end of unit 3 with a space.
At what?
Type a number at the end of anything there. One where one does not exist.
Where a number does not exist?
Yes,
Yeah, like just
go,
put one at after unit 3, I think he's saying, just to test it.
and put a space, type a couple of numbers there, highlight it, and then press F4. And it should automatically put in your guide dots and move it to the right with 6 spacing.
I'm not sure what you mean by put a space and some numbers and highlight the line, you mean?
Like you were going to enter in a page number at the end of a section or chapter.
Right. Right. Well, I'm
One
hitting
more.
I am hitting F4 and I'm getting the beep.
Okay,
I don't.
Maybe it's, did you highlight the 4?
If
Like
it's something,
shift arrow over to the right.
I'm not, I couldn't understand.
Shift an arrow over to the right. So you highlight that 3.
I highlighted.
Maybe it only works. You see, like you just highlighted that, but don't get that space in between the unit. You just want the 3. Now hit F4.
Okay, when I hit F4, I don't know if you can hear it. I'm getting the warning beep from Braille 2000. Something's not working. So
can you switch to print? Hit your P. Maybe it only works in print.
that might be the case.
Mm.
No, I'm still getting the notice.
Maybe it's because it's centered or something.
Yeah, if I guess it depends on what you want to do with it. Again, I can show you what I've done, but I'm not familiar with that part. I do know that I think that F4 is one of the options for creating speed braille keys. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's actually what Jonathan just put in the chat. It sounds like,
yeah, it's
set
a
up
speed braille key that somebody created probably for your system. And because I know I just looked at creating speed braille keys the other day. I can just do a little, well, I'll just show that briefly. The speed braille key option, it's the command is View or Alt V, and I can scroll down and select speed braille keys or just hit S. Now this is these are the speed braille keys that I have in my system. You set them up for what will work for you. So I can show you, well, where's the next one? I want to get to the next. Let's say I'm going to create a new speed braille key. And what it says, you can use any of the 63 chords, any of the 20 letter keys, not SDFJKL, because those are the ones we use for 6-key entry. Any of the 26 shifted letter keys, any of the digit keys 0 to 9, any shifted digit key, and any of the function keys F2 to F12, which tells me that F4, somebody set a speed braille key for your kid system. And no, it doesn't work on mine because I haven't set that speed braille key. But
and It sounds like it could come
That's
in handy though, as like another way to do it
yeah.
for
Oh yeah.
sure.
And I've heard some people, one of the discussion groups we did a couple years ago said that they format almost their whole file using Braille keys.
I'm a Duxbury user. I operate mostly in Swift.
Yeah.
So this is completely baffling to me on so many levels.
Yeah, Duxbury would be completely baffling to me. That's funny. Yeah.
Rosemary, when it comes to those speed keys, is it already granted that you should be using the control as well, or is it just strictly what it said there, like Shift plus S, for example? Or do you have to always use the control button to add to
I just read what the
exactly what it says there?
that I mean the man's got the computer in his head, he's got the whole program in his head, so I'm not going to want to add to it because that's outside of my I'm going to say new and it takes you in there. So any of the 63 chords, any of the chord is alt and the letter, right? I remember that back then from using the Opticon or VersaBraille or something. Any of the 20 letter keys besides the homer keys, any of the 26 shifted letter keys, there's the shift. Any of the digit keys, any shifted digit key, and any of the function keys, F2 to F12. So that's what you use. Seems
Okay.
like a lot to me. It seems like you'd have plenty there. Um, I can, well, I could demonstrate setting one up right now.
Well, I think we have some more time built in for that next week
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm using them. Now my speed braille keys, I have a C that I've used for a centered heading. I can go down, let's just go to the end of notice this is okay. Unit 6 is on, Unit 6 could not be by itself at the bottom of the page, but as long as there's one line of text underneath that, it's okay. And again, Braille 2000 put it in there. So there's my table of contents. Now we must have done this the other day. The page numbers. So this is the beginning of the text. Yeah. I use my speed braille keys. Now here I would have my print in front of me. Where's that book? We still have lists. I still have lists to do. Thinking I was ending on table of contents. Yeah, I'll use the speed braille keys in the context of the list. Sorry about that. Anything else on table of contents? Because I'm going to go on to.
I don't
A
think
quick
so.
question, if that's okay. So, do you ever use find and replace for styles? Like when you were manually doing the unit titles, right? Is there a way to just do it you just select an area and then instead of having to do it, one by one, you just change the style? Is that in Braille 2000? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I'm thinking a minute. I think it has to do with I don't know. I don't know. That would be something that might come up in one of our discussion groups. You'd be great in one of our discussion groups, and get
Okay.
with other people that are
Used it or something,
working
yeah.
with different things. Yeah, I mean that there is a way to do to go into the mechanics of Braille 2000 and reset all the headings, but it's not something I've ever used. Frankly, I don't really need to. I mean, I don't mind resetting 8 headings. It would take me a lot less time to do what I do and reset 8 headings than that because I'm not, computer software kind of person. I'm a Braille transcriber, an educator. So, I don't know, Jonathan, if you have an answer for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to go to a different.
Yeah. Generally, if you need to fix headings in Braille 2000, I set speed Braille keys like C for center,
Right.
W
Right.
for blocked, Y for body text 3-1. And then as you're going through, you can very quickly hit those keys, E for
Right.
1 3. You can quickly hit those keys, but the majority of my formatting I do in Microsoft Word before I copy it over with
Mm-hmm.
uh, translation typing directives, which Bob has a PDF document you can read about that.
Right. So those are the codes, right? That the Braille 2000 codes that he uses to use the same format, like to copy the format.
Which
You can put codes in, but if you just have the indentation at 1/8 of an inch for every cell in Braille 2000, it'll pick up on that.
1/8 of an inch. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So there's no way to do it automated way to do it then. At this, as far as we know, like you change the styles, you just find and replace, change a style for a whole block of text.
I'm not I'm going to be demonstrating more with using how I use speed braille keys. Like for a block of text and headings and things like that. Yeah, I do that as I go. And so that'll probably be more on
Yeah.
day 4 that I do
Okay.
that. But I was doing some of it in here. I mean, even I highlighted the section of the table of contents. That was my speed braille key. I use an H for home. That's just what worked for my head, and it goes to the style 1 run overs and 3.
Okay.
Right.
I
And
think Paulo, you might be thinking about, because I know you've been coming to the Duxbury sessions too. Like there really isn't an equivalent of some of the things that you can do in NimPro in Braille 2000. They just kind of work differently. Like the sort of that global editing that works specifically with NIMAS files in NimPro. There isn't really an equivalent kind of tool like that built into Braille 2000.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
okay,
of course.
thank you. I'm going to go. All right. They kicked me out, so I have to go back here and open my lists. Oh, one other
Sure.
thing I'll show you in table of contents is this. I will show you another finished table of contents. One example of where there was looking for the title on the side. Table of contents in another book. This table of contents, again, I'm going to use a speed braille key to jump to the bookmark to jump to where I was. This is it. I have a speed braille key for print view. And this one pretty much is just a simple list. So you have your entries at the margin, runovers in 3. There were no subdivisions in this table of contents either, or there would be the breakdown that I'll show you when we look at lists. But there is a section where they had this was a sidebar somewhere, or it's set off from the text. And so they have the opening, but it was in a box. And so you'll see at the end of the box, we need that 6 cells between the end of the material and the margin. And I think I did that manually. Again, Jonathan shows how to do that on his video. Since he's jumped in here, his videos on his YouTube channel are excellent. They're so clear. Every time I watch one, I think, oh, it's nearly as complicated as I thought. So thank you. But he'll show how to remove that 6 cell and how to format in Word. So that's another example. And then I'm going to jump over to, I'm just going to close that up and jump over to list. Basically, I created this file from formats by copying and pasting. And so lists, these are guidelines taken right from formats. This is actually some of what I said earlier. List prefixes may be in bold type based on print appearances. These are the things I covered in the slide. So here's a an example of a list, just a simple list. Everything's at the margin. It can have a cell 5 heading above it with no space. Otherwise, you put a space before and after lists. Types a list, embedded list, retain the print paragraph format. So this is an example as the groups prepare for embarking on their journey. Their thoughts included, and the list items here are A, would they travel well together? B, would the journey be dangerous? And C, would they see their loved ones again? They're just done right there in the context of the paragraph. Did I do this? Oh, good. Here's another one, another simple list: cat, dog, mouse, cow, horse. Print. Simple list following directions, write the principal part. Anyway, again, it can be preceded by directions, but everything's at the margin. Nested list. I did this, Jonathan, you'll like this. I finally figured with his help, I figured out how to create a speed Braille key for returning from print view to Braille view, because I use a P to get into print view, and then I was trying to use another letter for Braille view, and it wouldn't work because you can't use some of the speed Braille keys when you're in print mode, but I used the F2. So that's why I can do this now. At the risk of making anybody, I'm sorry, the risk of making anybody seasick, I can just go back and forth pushing keys. I'm so excited. But a nested list, and I pushed the wrong key there, is a list within a list. So I'll have one level will be, the style would be 1, runovers and 3, 2 levels. Let me show this in. Let me put this in Braille. This is just listing the parameters for creating a list. So here's an example. You have an outline form. I thought I had an outline. This was the outline. So an outline form, you have your entries at the margin with runovers in. It depends on how many entries you have, but this has 2 subdivisions. Then your runovers are going to be in 7. So you have 1 runovers in 7, cell 3 runovers in 7, cell 5 runovers in 7. Okay. There are a lot of examples in formats, section 8. If you also look at format section 10, there are more information on list in the context of exercise material. That's just kind of demonstrating what they are. As for setting them up, again, that is again where the speed Braille keys come in handy. Bulleted list. This one I did not remember. Some of these I don't run into that much, so I always go back to formats and find it. If you have a bulleted list and only some items are bulleted, you put the bullet at the margin, and then your other entries, again in print, it just basically looked like this. You see the bullets over there just on the 2nd, 4th, and 5th items, but you line the entries up and have the bullets at the margin. So any questions about lists?
I'm not seeing any in the chat. One person had a question about like inserting blank lines that someone addressed with, inserting line breaks. And then Jonathan also mentioned, I guess there's a code to put into quote unquote preserve blank lines if you're doing your editing in Word before you pull your material into Braille 2000. So I think that one was answered already. I'm not seeing any others at this point, but again, feel free to unmute if you have a question. And like Rosemary said, we will dive in more with speed Braille keys next session in session 4, but she did utilize some today during her work, but we'll actually go into like how to set them up.
Yeah. Here's a couple more that this is just, I mean, jump in with questions, anybody, if you have it, just showing again how some lists are done in the, this is further on in this text and you have a problem here, complete these subtraction facts. These were shown as a list. Oh, that's what I had. These demos. Yes. Let me just take this quick one, how to format this. You see this list here, or this is a math problem in this is in this book. Okay, now I don't have I put that speed Braille key for one file and not the system. All right, so let me oh, what was that? Here's where yes, it is in here. So I have here, this was an example of a list in the several things about the list, the nested list. That's print page 130. If I want to find this quickly in my file, I look at the problem. I'm going to just type in we're picking pairs, do a search for that rather than dealing with names. And search for that from the top. All right, I'm on page 130 here. Turn my interpreter on. So this is a math problem. Now you can see here, if I move this over a little bit, problem number is 5, and then the subdivisions are A, B, C. In this particular work, so let's say I'm just going to start a new page with this for the purpose of formatting. I have divisions and fractions. This is a heading that I may or may not use, but because it's repeated. But for right now, I used my speed Braille key to set a cell 5 heading. Now I'm going to set the first problem that starts with the number 5, which is there in this volume. Because I have these two subdivisions, I'm going to make this one run overs in 5, and I have a speed Braille key for that. I just hit that right there and it moves everything over. Then I go down. The A is in cell 3, but it needs to be 3 run overs in 5. So I created that speed Braille key, hit that speed Braille key. How many pairs did each sibling have? Now the same for B. I'm going to make that use the same speed Braille key. I'm going to notice here's a global thing. This often the numeric indicators are coming in from the NIMAS files in bold type. So I'm going to highlight the bold symbol indicator and the grade 1 indicator. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to set my bookmark right there. Then I'm going to do a search and I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to replace it with just the grade 1 indicator. This one I want to do in the whole file, or actually I would do it from here. Let me change that. I don't think I have anything ahead of there. Let's just say it this way. I have my bookmark. I highlight the whole rest of the file. Then I enter and I'm going to do replace all. Well, this will be after I've worked in a book. Now, again, because I'm not setting it up ahead of time, some of you are doing that. The way I do it, once I start seeing, okay, all these letters in here, all these variables, like right here, here's the P, and they have the italics indicator. I know that the variables come in italics in print and in Braille. We're not supposed to keep them there. So I'm going to do the same thing and enter that and replace it with just the grade 1 indicator. And for the highlighted, yeah. So I'll go back to where I was and see that it's fixed the P. Now that P is part of a math problem that is, there's a list of these. So I'm going to display those. Lists are displayed. I'm going to display them 2 cells to the right of the margin of the, I'm sorry, the run over. So I'm going to put those in cell 7. Again, I did that with a speed Braille key. I'm going to come down and see, be dropped down. So I'm doing this with speed Braille keys, this setup. That goes over there. There's a bold. Notice here, there's a space missing in print, so it has a bold word indicator because there's no space between 6 and challenge. So that's one I'll fix manually. And then I'll go ahead and highlight the uncontracted challenge and paste it and do a global replace with the contracted challenge, because if it's uncontracted, it's probably because it was joined to a number. It was, again, the spaces, some of the spaces were not there in the NIMAS file, I think. This,
All right.
yeah.
I don't want to cut you off, but I also we're running up to time. Is there was there one thing maybe you wanted to wrap up on
I was
or?
just going to take out these spaces in the math, that
Okay, okay.
bother me, but that's okay. People know how to do that.
Yeah, and we're gonna get more into math in
Yeah.
session 5 as well. So let me go ahead um, and share my screen here. So we, in the process of going through the table of contents formatting, Rosemary walked you through how to edit some type forms and then also format that table of contents. And then we looked at different list types as well and how to do some editing of those. And as we've teased, we'll get more into speed Braille keys and actually how to set them up and utilize them in our next session. Does anyone have any final questions? I know there was a little bit of chat in the chat, but I don't think there were any new questions. But feel free to unmute if you do have one. Or you're also welcome to share something maybe that you learned today, something that you're going to take back and utilize in your work. We love to hear that too. And Alexa put the link in the chat for our exit survey. I'll put that up on the screen as well. If you could take just a moment to complete that before you head out, we really appreciate it. It helps us make sure that these sessions are useful for you. Also, there's a space at the end for you to ask a question or make a comment, something that you were interested in seeing covered in a future session. Please do share that with us. And as a reminder, coming up next week, we'll have headings, tables in our speed Braille keys, and then session 5 will dive into math in greater detail as well as alphabetic references. And then session 6 will have our Q&A wrap up as well as an overview of eBraille.
I learned the search in feature. I didn't realize that. So thanks. That's going to be very useful and helpful. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
Oh, good. So glad. Anyone else have anything they learned today? Excited to try out for themselves? Thanks for sharing that, Paulo. All right, well, I will go ahead and stop our recording then.